So if you've been following my channel for a while, then you've probably heard the story before. But when I was about 6 years old, the 2006 Honda Accord was released. It was the refresh for the seventh generation Accord, which some people refer to as the seven and a half generation. Nonetheless, um, I absolutely fell in love with that car. My cousin bought a 2007 Accord EX sedan. It was a four-cylinder and was automatic, but nonetheless, I fell in love with it, and I knew that the 7.5 was one that I wanted to own when I grew up. Now, ultimately, I did end up getting a 2004 Honda Accord, so the pre-refresh model, and that was a great car overall. Had the K24 and a 5-speed manual, but I wasn't in love with it by any stretch of the imagination. That being said, I always knew that the specific spec I wanted is what we have in front of us right now. Not only did I want a 2006 to 2007 Accord EXL V6 6MT, I wanted an alabaster silver one, which is this in front of me. I wanted it to have a rear accessory spoiler. I wanted it to have the sunroof visor, so on and so forth. So the fact that this is sitting in front of me right now truly feels like a surreal experience. I kind of go over how I got the car after I go over a brief walk around, kind of show you some things that I've added in the week or so that I've had it, and then we'll go for a drive. So starting out at the front, clearly each one of my cars has had one of these JDM style license plates, with the exception, ironically, of my first 7th generation Accord. Nonetheless, the J30 obviously stands for the fact that this car is powered by just that. It's a J30A5, so a 3-liter single overhead cam V6 with VTEC, 6-speed manual, and then '06 clearly, and then the little symbols as well. Um, Aside from that, front end is pretty clean, nothing added to it. It does not have the accessory fog lights. I honestly thought about adding those, but I'm going to be honest. Um, I don't want to go through the trouble of taking this front bumper cover off. Did that on my 2004, and it never really went back on the right way. So I think I'm fine with the way it looks right now. I like the fact that they try their best to make it at least look a little bit appealing, even without the fog lights. Right now, it does have the original headlight housings. Um, they're not in terrible condition for the age of the car. You can see that they are starting to yellow just a little bit, and I do see that getting worse over time, of course. So at some point, I'll most likely replace those. Then again, that does get me back into the position of having to take off the front bumper cover. So in the case that I want to replace them, as much as I hate to say it, I'll probably pay my Honda shop to do that for me. These wheels are specific to the 6B models. These are essentially the exact same wheels that were on the 2002 to 2003 Acura TL Type S. I guess Honda just repurposed them for the sake of the 7th generation Accord with the 6MT. Coming around to the side, the only things I've added are JDM style window visors. As I always point out with stuff like that, that's quote unquote what makes them JDM style. Well, your guess is just as good as mine. That's simply what they're called on eBay. And then this same sunroof visor I've had since I had my 2004 Accord. And it's been on literally every single car that I've owned, from my 1998 to my 2004 Accord to my 2014 Accord to my 2014 Civic Si, and then obviously here it is now. Considering the fact that it looks best on this one and it literally was made for this one, this is where it'll stay at. And I don't think I mentioned it, but the wheels are 17 inches. Body side moldings, I really appreciate having those. Clearly they are functional, but I appreciate the way they look as well. Coming around to the back, every 7th generation Accord from 2006 to 2007 got LED tail lights. So the tail lights and brake lights are fully LED. Reverse lights, which are in the middle there, and then the turn signals still remain incandescent. Something else that was specific to the V6 with the 6-speed manual was the red V6 badge, as opposed to the black one that the automatic V6 has got. Of course, kind of like a signature staple for Honda Accord since the 6th generation V6 has been dual tip mufflers. Third brake light is incorporated into the deck lid in this case, or the trunk itself. And then I added the OEM accessory rear spoiler. When I bought the car, it did not have that. Save the manual sticker for obvious reasons. Then it does have a shark fin for XM radio. And of course, the passenger side is essentially just a symmetrical copy of everything else that we saw on the driver's side. And then here are the keys for it. It's the same InKey remote system that Honda started using in the early 2000s and continued using honestly until 2013, I want to say. I could be a little bit off, but I want to say 2013 for that. Lock, unlock, trunk, and then panic, of course. And then if you press and hold the unlock button, all four windows down, and then the sunroof opens as well. The windows are freshly tinted on this, so I won't show that off for that sake, but it's a neat feature to know about. And before I go into the interior, I'll preface by saying the interior on this car is truly one of the things that made me go for this one specifically, and I think you'll see what I mean in just a second. Another feature that separates the 6-speed models from the automatic counterparts is the full carbon fiber. It's on both the door panels for front and rear seats, as well as the center console right here, or the center stack, and the area surrounding the shifter. And the rear seats, just like everything in the front, are in absolute perfect condition. I highly doubt if anyone ever said in this. And again, I'll kind of go over the reason why I think that this car has maintained such a nice interior over the time. It also has the OEM carpet and all-weather floor mats that cover those as well. Now, if I had to try to pinpoint a reason why I think this car has been able to maintain such good condition overall, despite being as old as it is, it would have to be this. Not a misread at all. The car only has 71,000 miles on it. And I'll say that's another reason I was drawn specifically to this one. Even in good condition, these cars typically have near, if not over 200,000 miles on them. I figured for the rest of the video that kind of explains my journey toward getting this car. I do some driving around as well. I will dedicate a specific portion to me not talking and listening to the car specifically. Most likely during this portion, I'll also move the position of the mic so you can hear the car better as opposed to hearing me. So in terms of what led me to get this car specifically, every now and then I'll go on Auto Trader, not necessarily because I want to buy anything, it's just kind of neat to see what they're offering at different points. I had the filter set to Honda Accord clearly, and then 2003 to 2017 to kind of account for all the years that you could get a V6 with a 6-speed manual, whether it be a sedan like this one or one of the coupes that they came up with over time. Nonetheless, I came across this one in Fredericksburg, Virginia. For reference, I'm in South Carolina. And the color combination, along with the fact that it was only a 71,000 mile car, really caught my attention. So I figured even if I don't end up getting the car, it might be worth a shot getting in touch with the dealership, getting some more details about it, and kind of asking some questions about how we could get the car essentially transported to South Carolina in the case that I was able to buy it. Clearly it's here, so I ended up buying it, and we did just that. The car was transported on a transport truck from Fredericksburg, Virginia down to Charleston, South Carolina, where I live at. And all in all, it took a matter of about 4 to 5 days between me buying the car itself and it showing up at my door. Not terrible at all. I won't disclose the name of the dealership that I got it from simply because I'm not sure if that's something they would be okay with. But I will say they sold tons of this exact spec, the sedan with the 6-speed and the V6. I'm not sure how they end up coming across them. Their luck is clearly better than a lot of ours, but nonetheless, I'm thankful that the process was as straightforward and easy as it was. Unless you really are enough of a nerd like me to know the differences between this and the standard Accord, you really wouldn't know. It comes across as a plebeian run-of-the-mill 7th generation Accord. But those of us who know, we know. And even comparing this to my 4-cylinder manual Accord that I had before, night and day, honestly. That car, it was fun to drive because it had a manual, but at the same time, the lack of power was very noticeable, and in this, that's not a concern at all. Now, in terms of what I plan to do with this car, I can honestly say I do plan to keep it as stock as possible. whatever little modifications or enhancements I've done in the week that I've owned it, that's pretty much as far as it'll go. Again, the car that truly led me to want this specifically was the one that Redline reviews, or Sofian Bay, if you know him that way. I reviewed 2013 and 2014 maybe. That is the specific car that I fell in love with, and essentially mine is now twins with that, aside from the fact that that one had some aftermarket wheels and mine still has the stock wheels. But nonetheless, I do plan on keeping it stock. Now, even with this being the quote-unquote fun Accord, it is still a Honda Accord at the end of the day, and with that, it's very easy to drive. In general, and specifically, the manual is pretty easy to operate as well. Again, I feel like there are times when I'm still trying to get used to the clutch. I think the more I drive it, though, the more I kind of get better at it. And of course, it is a Honda, so I mean, you can't go wrong with that. And even after, I guess it's 2023 now, this is 2006, so even after 17 years on the road, this car still handles, drives, and holds up like a champ. The ride is very smooth, it doesn't feel shaky or teeny. That some might have is whether or not I plan on keeping my nitrogen Accord, and the answer is yes. I've mentioned a few times before that car is actually financed. It was the first thing I ever financed, and I do want to have it on my history that I was able to actually like pay that off. So that car will be sticking around, and my intention for it, essentially, that's still going to be my daily driver. Is it my goal to keep this car at only 70,000 miles forever? No, absolutely not, because a car like this does deserve to be driven. But it's definitely not going to be my daily driver. Right now, I consider it to be more of my fun car, my weekend car, and for other purposes, I'll continue to use my nitrogen Accord. For example, I have a road trip coming up, and my nitrogen Accord is perfectly on road trips. As much as I enjoy driving a manual, there are certain cases where an automatic does, work or fit a little bit better, and that's where that car will come in handy. To hop on the interstate, and there's not very much more that I want to talk about, so I'll kind of go ahead and wrap things up. I appreciate those of you that are new to the channel and checking this out. I appreciate those of you who have watched and continue to watch. It's always greatly appreciated. There will be a few more updates on this car.